Welcome back to Allison Customs Project Car TV. I'm Jeff Allison, and thank you for watching.
So guys, welcome back to Allison Customs Project Car TV. Today, doing the help section again. I'm working on relays, or working with relays, and trying to take some of the mystery out of it for you. I hope this helps you. Today I'm talking about relays. And I don't care whether it's a square relay, 4-pin, 5-pin, rectangular, round. Most relays that you're going to use in the automotive world are going to be labeled the same way. 87, the pins on the back, that is, are going to be labeled the same way. 85, 86, 87, 30, possibly an 87A. All a relay is a heavy-duty switch that is remote operated. So we can use a switch on the dash to control this, and this then can control a high amperage load to something like fuel pumps or cooling fans or a winch, or maybe if you got a big four-wheel drive, a bunch of extra lights on the outside. And so we want to take the mystery out of this. They're a very simple project. They've been around forever, or and they've been around forever. And like I said, there's 4-pin versions, there's 5-pin versions, and I've drawn them out here so it's a little easier to see. And what we've got is the pins on the back are labeled, and they're pretty commonly labeled, 86 and 85, 87 and 30, and then there's on the 5 pins you'll see an 87A. And we'll kind of cover what that feature does. You have to find a use for it, but otherwise they work the same. And the schematic for this, so we're going to say this is pin 85 over here. 85 and 86 are switchable. One can be positive, one can be negative. It doesn't matter which one's which, and it doesn't matter which side you control the relay with. You can control it off the ground side or the positive side. For my circuit that we built here today, we're going to control it off the positive side. So pin 85 is getting 12 volts positive, probably from a keyed source, meaning off your ignition key. You're not going to put power to this circuit unless you've got the key on, so that when the key's off, this circuit can't be operated. Anyway, with the source coming in, we got a switch on our dash, which is represented by this. Like I said, it could be pin 85 or 86. The other side goes to ground, and it controls this actuator, which moves the main switch, the high amperage load switch, from back and forth here across this contactors. Our source power comes into pin 30, so maybe directly from the battery through a fuse and then into the relay. And then the relay is then, when this switch is closed, this contactor relaxes and touches pin 87, or in the 4-pin version, pin 87 is not there, it's just closed, or it's just relaxed and sitting out here in no man's land. Then pin 87 is our load, our fuel pumps or our cooling fans or our winch or what have you. And the way this is going to work is when we get 12 volts coming in and we close this switch, the contactor is going to force this switch closed, and it's going to move. Power is then going to be able to travel from pin 30 through pin 87 all the way out to our load. And we can have, like, let's see, this 4-pin relay is a 40 amp relay. This one's a 30 amp relay, and so they can handle a whole lot more load than this little 5 amp switch. So in practice, the way this is going to work is we have our car battery again. We have a relay mount. Well, let's say this light represents a fuel pump for our race gas. Maybe and our fuel pump is controlled. We want to be able to control our fuel pump by a switch on the dash, so that somebody maybe can't steal our car, or so that when we're working on the car, we can have the switch off and the fuel pump's not running when we've got the key on. We're going to plug a relay in, and I'm going to go ahead and plug the 5-pin in just so that we can talk about the 87A later, but these two would work exactly the same in this configuration. So we turn the key on, nothing happens. We turn our switch on, the relay closes, the fuel pump, in this case the light, comes on. And if you listen real close, you can probably hear it click. So it's physically moving this contactor back and forth in there. Now, that's how 87 works. That's how pin 87 works, getting a source across there. it takes all the mystery out. You can have 20 gauge wire running up to this switch in the dash, and then you can run all your heavy gauge wire over from the battery to the relay and through a fuse, and it cuts down on the weight in the car, cuts down on the high amperage loads running from the car, especially like if your battery's in the trunk or something. You don't want to run a 10 amp or a 15 amp source and a big heavy gauge wire from the trunk to the dash to a big heavy switch and then out to your fan or your fuel pump or whatever. You want to be able to run it you want to be able to run light gauge wire to the dash and keep everything neat and clean. Next up, let's say we have 2 fuel pumps in our car. Maybe we like to run street gas when we're cruising around, and we like to run race gas when we go to the track. And the street gas is in our tank that is that we always, whenever we turn the key on, we want that fuel pump to come on. So here's our street gas fuel pump, and I'm gonna go ahead and hook it up to ground, and the switch is off, but yet our fuel pump's running because we have a power source through our system. And what's happening is because this switch is off, this is our dash switch, because it's off, the contactor has relaxed to touch pin 87. So our source power is coming into pin 30 and is going out pin 87, which is represented here in the brown wire. So our street pump is running like normal. We get to the track, we want to switch fuel pumps. All we do is hit the switch, the relay comes on, our race pump comes on, and our street pump turns off. And we race all night. When we're done, switch back, we're back on our street pump. And that would only work, I guess, if you had 2 sets of 2 different fuel tanks, something like that. Or maybe you've got multiple fuel pumps, and when you're going to race, you need the additional fuel. You know, you have a computer and you're programming up your fuel system, or you're programming up your engine fuel injection system. So that's just one very generic way that you could have used the dual system there, the 87 and the 87A pins. I like to use it quite often. I will use the switch to turn something off. So I will run my source here, pin 87, and my fuel pump will be over here. And then I want to pull into a car show, and I don't want anybody able to start my car, so I reach up and I turn the switch on. And if you don't use a lighted switch, all you have to know is the switch position. You know your fuel pump has just dropped over to this side of the relay, and it's not doing anything. This also helps to where if your relay fails, it's always going to fail to contactor 87A because power comes off of it. So that's a neat way to bypass your fuel pump and not have to have this relay actually working all the time. Anyway, thanks again for watching these. I hope somebody finds them interesting. If you guys have ideas or something else you'd like to see me do, please holler at me. I'd be glad to try and take on some different projects.
Thanks for watching Allison Customs Project Car TV. Like us on Facebook and check us out at AllisonCustomsOnline.com.